you guys, I am back and today we are filming in my closet. I will be filming here with my makeshift tripod, which is a off-brand Stanley, and a light behind it. Today we are going to discuss not necessarily writing, but the subject of chasing your dreams. Now, we can psychoanalyze the source of our dreams and figure out whether they're for validation or approval or to appease yourself on certain very materialistic terms. And dreams can oftentimes be translated into something that is, or translated into an aspiration that renders monetary relief. And that's not always the case, and it shouldn't have to be. And of course, we can just quickly tackle the point of seeking validation will not fulfill that hole in your heart. It's not going to. It never has, never will. And even if it does, it's so transient, it'll burn out. I think my motive op, while I don't want to come off like crazy righteous or anything, but it is so important that you reflect and then act in accordance to whatever reflection or whatever you've learned about yourself. And I've left out an integral piece of my story when I do often talk about my journey of becoming a writer. And I think that's hypocritical. I cannot ask others to be authentic with who they are if I don't share the true and real catalyst of my experience when chasing this dream. So I will share that today for whoever is interested in listening. It's interesting. Whenever I film alone, I think I tend to, that might be the case for anybody, but you know, when I'm filming with Raza or family members, or I think I've only ever really filmed with Raza, I am goofier and cuntier, but me as myself, I think I just like to dive right into the subject, and I want to be more amped up and fun, whatever. We'll get to it. I think I'm also figuring out my online persona, because everybody kind of has one. You have to amplify certain traits of yourself just to be known a little bit better. And the thing is, like, it's not as though I'm unenthusiastic at home. I think I'm goofy with my friends, and I'm known for that too. And I fucked up the first time I filmed this, so I'm kind of just repeating everything I said. And I know I made a point in my other video. In that video, I was talking about my extroversion and how inclined I am to be extroverted, to be a people person. And while this might be a little tangential, I think it ties in when it comes to authenticity and being yourself, and how that's so important to cultivate those genuine relationships. So anyway, yeah, I do tend to be a little bit more extroverted for the sake of getting to know people. And I don't mean this in a transactional sense, necessarily. While it is great to learn from others and others learn from you, it's just very human of us to find community, find your people. And I'm always on the lookout, even beyond writers. I think it's just nice. It's awesome to meet, just like, just to really get to know like the individuality of people. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. So now I will talk about the harder part of my journey of becoming a writer, and why it is so important and liberating to be true to yourself. When I was 14, I've said this many times, but when I was 14, I was inspired by movies and wanted to pursue the field, or I tried looking for, a field that marries film and writing, discovered screenwriting, told my dad, he told me if I'm going to do it, I better be the best at it, and I never burnt out, and blah, blah, blah. But 14 was the age. And then going into high school, I just 15, yes, like all throughout my high school experience, I identified as a screenwriter, but 15, I was so young, and I still was debating whether I'd want to, do a minor in this and a major in that and be practical about it. It wasn't speaking to me. But by 16, I knew which film school I wanted to attend, which is essentially a mentorship program. And I also made a big life-changing decision. I decided to not complete my high school education because I viewed high school as a prerequisite to an education that doesn't necessarily benefit me. I'm not saying to not go to film school if you are a writer, producer, director, set designer, whatever, whatever that falls under that umbrella. I wouldn't want to deter anybody from attending film school. There are pros and cons to any choice you make. Of course, this field is not canonical. There are different routes to pursue it. Everyone, literally everybody has a different story. I have asked so many people. I have made so many cold calls and emails, especially during COVID, only to learn that everybody's got a different story. You could be a PA and work your way up. You could enter a contest and win, network. There's just so many different options, and that helped me realize I don't necessarily have to go to film school. Now, of course, going to film school is beneficial. It is very, very important to grow with like-minded people, and you're already in that environment, so that's super helpful. And also they provide equipment and help you develop your shorts, and they foster creativity on a very professional level. But nevertheless, if you were to join such as myself, a local film community and start as a PA and work on short films, go on to produce short films, find like-minded filmmakers who appreciate the genres that you like, you'll pretty much learn and grasp the same thing. And of course, for writers specifically, go read, go do research, go watch movies, write your own stuff, fail again. There's just, it's an ongoing process. Now, the hard part is over. I said what I needed to say, and we can go into the point, which is how chasing your dreams, pursuing those endeavors, finding yourself is so important, because I truly think that this is not necessarily, no one knows the meaning of life, but it is a large part of the health of your life. It is a important constituent to the health of your life, the success of your life, how fulfilling it is. And many people can speak on that as well, and this advice is not mine that I've coined. Everybody has said this in one way or another. So in all stages and all phases of myself, the one I found the most peace in is the one where I remedied my self-esteem, and I reflected, and I journaled, and I gentle parented myself. And that concept helped draw a map as to why I should feel okay with where I am, and why I should feel okay with chasing my dreams, even if it's a pipe dream, even if it's difficult, even if, while I don't believe it, even if it doesn't happen. I tell my friends and family this often: you have to be the child and be the parent. All of our feelings the stronger ones can be materialized into tantrums, and we fear betrayal, and we fear abandonment, and we fear never being enough, falling short. It's all pertinent to survival, but that's a whole other conversation, and it isn't really my strong suit anyway to discuss that. When you do gentle parent yourself, you get to access the source of the issue, and you bring up the problem to yourself as if you're your own parent, and say, hey, I'm upset that my friend isn't talking to me right now. What, am I not important to them? They know that whatever, this period of my life is very difficult. Why aren't they as responsive? And then when you are parenting yourself, while this might be a weak example and it might not necessarily resonate with everybody, as a parent, as a gentle parent towards yourself, you are able to process what you've heard and then allocate an answer that both justifies your feelings, but also gives you alternatives on how you should let that energy out. The answer is in, how do you think you should have been treated as a kid? Or what would you do if your kid were to feel this way? How would you act? How would you respond? And that's very important. I think that accesses a lot. It's like your brain and your body knows how to behave, how to respond to yourself, how to build that self-esteem, how to feel good. And unfortunately, with all these constructs that we deal with on the daily, whether it be social or familial, or or it could be, capitalistic, we fall short, unfortunately, because we adhere to these different views and beliefs. All right, so back to it. We're talking about chasing our dreams, right? And it started off with the reflection period, getting to know yourself, and then acting in accordance to it. This is, of course, for people who have particularly creative passions, and honestly, it could encompass various different pursuits. Be true to yourself. And then render a dream that you have that you'd like to chase is the most, in my opinion, authentic life that you can live. Because you live only once, and you will not return to this planet. And it is so important that you use every opportunity as an opportunity. That isn't without experiencing those human emotions and going through tough times and naming those tough times as tough times. You have to play every single role for yourself in a way that is, again, kind of parental. I found that, like I said, the best time of my life was when I confronted those strong and depressive feelings to build my self-esteem. And as soon as I did, I was able to find peace in the fact that despite not reaching a point that I would like to be at this age, I am still happy with who I am. I am still proud of myself. And there's variation in this process. Last year, I was far more positive and optimistic, and this year, not so much. And it is only because I fell back into unhealthy perspectives and views on life. And, again, I'm human. It's going to happen. Of course, I will always come back to those fundamental core beliefs, and I want to share that with you, especially because I'm someone who really risked a lot to go after my goals. And of course, I'm at this position where, certainly, yes, I have published a book, and I have written multiple scripts, and I have collaborated with fantastic writers, and I've done, a lot in the industry, but I'm still not at the position that I'd like to be at, that every writer dreams of. There are dark days, and that's okay to have them. You have to live them out. No way but through. You have to go through them. You have to feel those feelings. You have to find the source of those feelings, because oftentimes there isn't even an extended step beyond sourcing the issue. Once you know the source, you recognize it, you kind of move past it. Then you're able to, at least for me, I don't have to ask another why factor question from there. If I know that, oh, I feel down on myself, I feel bad about myself, I feel embarrassed because I didn't achieve this. Well, why do I feel this way? Most likely because I grew up in an environment that expected me to pursue something else, and here I am, still chugging along, still saying, hey, I wrote something else, and hoping that anybody takes an interest. And it's just, now I know the source, kind of. And to extrapolate it helps me move on and understand, because then I end up having a conversation, well, why does that opinion matter? Why does that person's opinion matter? And all of this is in moderation. I don't believe in practicing any philosophy in its extremity. I never have anyway, but yeah, opinions matter, right? Opinions of people that you respect, opinions of people who don't compromise that authenticity. I actually have a list of all the important lessons I've learned in life, and that's how I worded it. To be perceived, or to exist, is to be perceived in some sense, in one way or another. You can't eradicate the concern for everyone's opinions. You might as well consider those who you are willing to honor and consider. I'm lucky to have people in my life that support me and love me for who I am. But, in my 27 years of living, of course, I've come across those who want the exact opposite for me. And, that's another story in itself. And I don't necessarily would hold any grudge, because I think whoever feels that way has a dark and very raw insecurity that they can't really deal with. There's really nothing more gratifying than being true to yourself. Being true to yourself, resonating, authenticity, chasing your dreams. This is going to be a common pattern. You know, I'm trying to figure out my own pattern in this whole series of YouTubing, but you know, yeah, that's where I am. It's another little note in the list of lessons that I've learned. One of them was don't count your failures, because honestly, you're gonna fail a lot. We all do in so many of the things that we try, but to keep counting them is a burden you carry, and the best you can do, honestly, if you might as well just fail as many times as possible. The quicker the better. You learn a lot from it, you get it out of the way, fail again, you learn, get it out of the way, and keep moving forward. And I'm not saying that like, oh, chase your dreams because love doesn't last, or this won't give you the happiness you're looking for, or money isn't good enough, or no, you know, all of these facets are beneficial in one way or another. But you enter this world alone, you leave alone, so you might as well listen to your heart, mama. Listen to it. Believe in yourself, love yourself, cultivate, foster, nurture that individuality, that soul of yours, because that is the best thing that you can bring to the table. That is what people are looking for anyway. In a world that prioritizes materialism, this is your gold. You, yourself. And I talk to myself. I do crazy things where I will look at myself in the mirror and say, I love you. I love who you are. I love what you've done so far. And it makes me emotional anytime I talk about it. This is it. This is the one life you get. I got a little emotional. Yeah, it's one life. You owe it to yourself. Anyway, I hope that this makes sense to you, and I laid it out in a simple format, hopefully, but whatever. I don't really consider myself to be, you know, this like paragon of inspiration or anything, but whenever I say in my videos that my voice matters just as much as anyone else's, honestly, I'm just telling myself that, because sometimes I think, who am I to give advice? But no, I think I've had a good amount of experience so far, especially in regards to becoming a filmmaker, becoming a screenwriter. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful evening, or the rest of your day, or whatever. All right, so thank you. Bye.